Good evening. I'm your host, Karen Udis, in this series on the network of global corporate control. Today's show is pre-recorded and is called, What Does This Mean? Thanks as always to Carmen Stanley, studio producer and director, and Maurice Jackson is on audio and teleprompter. A couple of weeks ago, I showed you that Pope Benedict XVI had signed the financial statements of the world's wealth. I actually showed this to you twice. Look at the end of the teleprompter. Amy asked me what that meant. She said, I tried to look over this stuff, but I just didn't understand it. I was like, is this good or bad? So I said, it means the banking cartel has lost and humanity has won. It means the Vatican's corruption is in full view, along with the other banking cartel agents' corruption. Nobody really knows what's going on because this has never been done before. One thing you can count on is that I'll keep on telling you everything that's going on that I know about. I seem to be right in the center of what's going on because I've kept on telling everyone what's happening for years, and they've started to count on me. Also because I haven't sold out to anyone. I'm just in the middle telling everyone what's happening. The other thing I've done is I've refused to let anyone claim the world's gold and other treasures. I've said that we're going to use the gold to mint money and then use local money in the villages and towns. We have a good chance of getting rid of wars this way. Let's back up a little. Why am I talking about the Vatican and not showing any respect? This is a very, very good question. In the first place, I don't want to talk about people's religion because that turns people off and makes them very mad. So I'm only going to say that Catholic people are in charge of what happens in their religion. And I've heard from Catholic people who write to me and ask me to leave these matters up to them. And I'm going to do just that. I say that religion has been used to divide and conquer people. Now we're going to talk about ending corruption in paper money. There's one thing, though, and that's corruption. I'm working with all the world's people to end corruption that's in our money. We're doing this as the first priority and leaving the topic of religion to after we've cleaned up the corruption in the world's money. The fact that Pope Benedict XVI has signed the financial statements of the world's wealth when he has no valid claim to the world's wealth is a fact that needs to be dealt with in cleaning up the corruption in the world's money. Last week, we started talking about plans to end the corruption in the world's paper money. This is a big topic, as you can imagine. It involves every single person. The only thing I want to say for the time being on this subject is that we're involving everyone and that we're not in a rush. Any mistakes that we may make, we're going to go back and fix, and we're not going to leave people out in the process. This all sounds promising, but how is this possible? We're starting out with two important ingredients: the world's wealth, which Dwight Eisenhower and Harry Truman agreed to put into a big trust in the World Bank at the end of World War II, and a very accurate model from the United States National War College that helps us know how people agree on things. The corruption that we're talking about is very real, and so is the world's wealth. All the documents that I've been showing you these past 3 years provide written proof. I'll show you today just 2 of the most important documents that you can read later with links that I'm putting in the teleprompter. These 2 documents are at the very heart of what we're discussing now. The agreement about the world's wealth that was signed by Harry Truman and Dwight Eisenhower on the 11th of August, 1950. It's called the Bilateral Minesfield Breakthrough Successor Agreement. And we're going to talk about my letters to all the countries that refer to how we're replacing the corrupt paper money. Somebody tried to remove this document from the cloud on the internet. It was restored. I have a lot of people helping me. Some of these people I've known for years, and others I've never met. I'll answer your questions. I've been answering people's questions for over 3 years in this series. I'm now devoting this show to provide answers to the latest questions. Last week I talked about the banking cartel and said that we would talk about the black nobility at the center of the banking cartel today. I also published a copy of the teleprompter for today's segment last week. There are people who want me to stop using the teleprompters and just talk to them from my heart. I'll do both. When I talk about our business matters, it's important to use written statements. That's one reason for the teleprompters. Another reason is to communicate with people who want to know what's going on quickly. You can get a good idea of what was said by skimming through a teleprompter. I personally write all the teleprompters. Anybody who thinks I would just read from a statement that I didn't write myself doesn't know me. Now we'll talk about the black nobility. I'm talking to the black nobility every day when I continue to blog. This is what I said to the black nobility on the morning that I recorded this and posted the teleprompter. I'll speak with many of you later today, either live at 7 p.m. when my show is live streamed, on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., or in the comments section when I post it on YouTube later today. YouTube no longer notifies my subscribers when a new video is uploaded. Facebook doesn't notify my friends when I post anything new on my timeline. Twitter doesn't bother to notify my followers when I tweet anything. That means that you have to be proactive because the black nobility is trying to keep on hiding. So now to the black nobility at the center of the banking cartel. I'm not going to simply repeat what I said last January, and there are links in the teleprompter to that show on the black nobility. The black nobility are the ones behind all the corruption that we experience in our lives. They're exposed. A person who was pretending to be an insider in the black nobility and claimed that he was revealing some secrets of the black nobility started posting on my YouTube channel on the March 13th segment. His screen name was Return of Zeus. Return of Zeus made some interesting comments, and he managed to fool a couple of my followers that he was a black nobility whistleblower. Return of Zeus still sometimes posts in a blog as Ahua Zeus. Then I started discussing the world's gold with Ahua Zeus, and Ahua Zeus said that the world's gold was under the control of the banking cartel. That is fundamentally wrong. Just before Return of Zeus accused me of working for the banking cartel, I said to him, "You're wrong about the whereabouts of the United States monetary gold reserves. These are in the global debt facility and are not under control of the banking cartel. When you talk about U.S. armed forces, you're giving all of the responsibility to the Knights of Malta and zero responsibility for the rest of the armed forces, many of whom have been following their oath of allegiance to the United States Constitution of 1789, and a critical mass of whom understand that the United States Constitution is not in force. You've also left out the Defense Department's power transition model, which says that coalitions exist and that these coalitions are stronger than the Jesuit alumni and professors. In summary, you're spreading disinformation. I've had a bad feeling about you from the start. Now we know that you're working for the banking cartel. I've already defeated the banking cartel many times. The dominoes are going to continue to fall on you, Return of Zeus. If you're interested in reading my exchange with Ahuazus, you can see this. I've given you a link in the teleprompter. Now we're going to talk about local currency. And this was an email that I showed a blog to for a person named Teresa. Thank you so much for writing. I'm forwarding you the link to the teleprompter for the upcoming segment on DCTV that deals with local currencies. There's a bibliography, and I've given you that bibliography in today's teleprompter. You need to network with your local merchants and civic associations. It can be a bit daunting to figure out how to get started. Find a couple of people in your community and simply get started. There are others who will be joining you in other communities as well. You can learn from them and from the communities that have already established local currencies. Good luck. Let me know how things progress. And this is what Teresa had written to me. This was back in May. Dear Karen, first of all, thank you for all your work and effort. I live on, and I'm not telling you the name of the island, with a great community who take care of each other through community involvement. We're a mixture of organic farmers in the south and the military community to the north. I'm a nurse who's working with the senior population. I've been faithfully digesting your information for several years, though feeling quite alone. I continue, however, with an inner knowing that you're real and correct. My question to you is simple. Do you have suggestions or instructions for the creation of local currency? I have a great desire to help. Can you advise me as to how to begin this task? Thank you very much, Teresa. And now we're going to be talking about the banking cartel puppet. I uploaded last night in the archives of the DCTV series on the banking cartel. This only backfires banking cartel. And now we're going to talk about discernment. I'm now going to talk about discernment. This means trying to think straight. There are people who try and get you to believe them, and many times they start off with good information and hope you won't notice when they switch to bad information. This is combined with weaponry that tries to hypnotize you using low-frequency airwaves. Once you know about this weaponry and that it's real, all that you need to do to fight it is to work together with a handful of people who know you very well. You're going to talk things over with these people, and that should protect you from extremely low-frequency weaponry. And then I'm going to show you what I said to Linda on a lesson in discernment. The gold in the basement of the World Trade Center that was robbed on 9/11/2001 belonged to the Global Debt Facility. American Legislative Exchange Council is Metro 1313. That means it's a banking cartel gimmick. How to help? Organize a network. Help to discern what's happening. Take on reforms with your network and get ready for the pivoting of the Titanic. Here is what I'm mailing to this address. And then this was the inquiry. It was written in 2015. Hello, Karen. Let me begin by saying thank you for your response. You're very correct when you started when you stated there's a lot of misinformation on the web. I'm having a heyday trying to figure it all out. I've surmised the United States was robbed of its gold on 9/11. You've sent me a barrage of information that I'm working my way through, although I don't understand much of it yet. I suspect more will fall into place as I master it. I've not yet studied economics, and frankly, economics sickens me in relation to what the federal dollar and the greed surrounding it all seems so futile. I've seen through the years the exacerbation of slavery and social control. I have a deep desire to see it all come to an end so we can get on with our creation peacefully. I don't see any positive changes at ground level. Let me correct that. I see Sam Brownback, Senator of Kansas, is being called out. Karen, I can be sure of one thing. Your passion for humanity speaks for itself, and I want to join your fight, whatever it takes. I need to know if ALEC is fed, or is it something else to take part in? No, it's, as I explained, it's Metro 1313, which is Banking Cartel. How specifically can I help? Thank you for writing back to little old me, Linda. And I also wrote to Linda, thanks for your offer of help. Sorry for the delayed response. Your email landed in my spam. And Linda also wrote, your quest. I've recently been viewing your work and am behind you 100%. I reside in Kansas City, Missouri, and am currently studying economics as I've grown weary of all I've witnessed in my lifetime. I'd like to know if there's anything I can do to be of assistance to your campaign. You're a very impressive woman, my newest hero. Thanks, Linda. And let me give you the lesson in discernment. Disinformation provides true statements to get you on board and then finishes with a big lie. And I'm giving you a couple of examples in the teleprompter, and I'm showing you where somebody was accusing me of being disinformation. And I said, you need to compare and contrast. And then I put in the teleprompter a chart, which I think it's going to be difficult to read. So let's just scroll through the teleprompter. But one of the things is I was reinstated as acting general counsel of the World Bank. And Keenan, it's never clear what he did. Okay, so we're just scrolling through the chart. One of the things is I provide original documents, and you can read those. I've got links in them in my social media and also in the teleprompter. And then I've given information to show to you that Sukarno was never, he never had anything to do with the gold. Marcos just used him as a name. Now let me explain about how we're going to be exchanging currencies in 2 steps. And I actually tweeted this last year. And I said, today is an important day. Every day is actually very important. Despite the banking cartel's foot dragging, we're clearly in the global currency reset. I am still the switchboard operator and canary in the coal mine, which is to say, I'm in the very center of the world's corrupt money system that we've all agreed to replace. The fake money issued by the company that thinks it's allowed to run the world is going to be replaced in 2 steps. The first step will replace money with the money issued by local merchants and with currency issued by the treasuries of the world's countries. After we've figured out the exchange rate of gold currency, we'll replace the currency issued by the treasuries of the world's countries with the world's monetary gold reserves. And this will be done by putting it into plastic envelopes that handle just like paper currency. But it'll have gold in there with the value of the face amount of the bill. At the same time, people living in the countries are going to replace the corrupt, illegitimate governments. Everything is going to take a while since the corruption and our health is going to be cleaned up too. Nothing is going to happen suddenly. Everything's going to take some getting used to. It's not going to be easy to predict which order everything is going to happen, since humanity has invented the global currency reset. And this is the first time ever an entire world was able to get rid of corruption in this way. In case you didn't realize this, I'm representing everyone, but I'm not deciding things for everyone. Every single one of us has a part to play in the global currency reset. And then there's some links in the teleprompter where I'm talking about how we're proceeding. In 2014, when I was working with Izumi Takahashi, a Japanese journalist in Tokyo, I tweeted the following. Izumi has generously shared her considerable understanding, especially about scalar weaponry. Izumi has taken a lot of punishment, not just personal torture, but the banking cartel has kept on attacking people close to Izumi, the latest being her elderly aunt, whose hip was broken after the banking cartel threw her aunt to the pavement a couple of weeks ago. Well, this was written back in 2014. The banking cartel shills are putting words in my mouth about flat earth. I am not a flat earther. We don't need to talk about Treasury direct accounts or birth certificate bonds again. I've already gone on record with that. And then I'm talking about something that I wrote in 2014 about the Joint U.S.-Japan Committee. And this was an email that went to the United States Inspector General in the Army, Louis Kala. As per our discussion, I'm forwarding you the bilateral Minesfield Breakthrough Successor Agreement. The 188 ministers of finance on the Board of Governors of the Bretton Woods institutions have appointed me to authenticate transactions for the Global Debt Facility under paragraph 6, the power transition model, which I discussed with Secretary Hagel in 2008, and which has been predicting that we will lose Germany as an ally if the United States does not observe the rule of law in the international financial system. This is what YCT, a Chinese parastatal company, wrote me. The internet links pertaining to your complaints that you've uploaded for my reading are indeed enlightening. It's no wonder that 188 members of the Bretton Woods institutions chose to reinstate you as acting general counsel of the World Bank. I'm appalled by the responses from the Office of Inspector General of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, stating that your concerns about the World Bank's internal controls over financial reporting, its alleged corruption, and its alleged retaliation against you for raising these issues that threaten the World Bank's credit rating and the stability of the international financial system are not and do not fall within their purview for investigation. I fully support your relentless pursuit to restore humanity and the world's patrimony for the benefits of mankind. Well, it turned out that YCT was just trying to steal the world's gold, and I stopped dealing with them as soon as I figured this out. Now, this is from the person who was in Japan working with the joint Japan-U.S. committee. And I called him up, and on July 16, 2014, he wrote this. Jim, I just spoke with Ms. Karen Hudis, acting general counsel of the World Bank. She would like to establish contact with you concerning an initiative she's working with the United States Department of Defense in several countries throughout the world. She's currently in Japan participating in joint committee activities. And then he gave my phone number in Japan. Thank you, John. It was John Walker, who was the U.S. Air Force Air Attaché in the Embassy of Washington in Tokyo. And he unclassified that email. And he wrote, I wrote, it's necessary for the allegations of theft of gold from the global debt facility by the United States military to be promptly investigated. This is a national security issue for Japan and within the mandate of the Joint U.S.-Japan Committee under the Status of Forces Agreement. This is under your command. Thank you for doing your duty and opening this investigation. And then there were some comments from the Banking Cartel, which was trying desperately to limit damage. The tipping point for the global currency reset has been passed irrevocably months ago. The Banking Cartel is trying now to shape the global currency reset and to set the agenda. The Coalition for the Rule of Law, that is, all of humanity, is now in charge. The Banking Cartel's agents have no role in the global currency reset. Their role is to learn from their mistakes. One of the agents of the Banking Cartel, Rodney Class, has been emailing me and tried to scrub my files so that he could claim that he was credible and earned a place with the cleanup crew. Here is mention of the prominent role that Rodney Class thought he should play, this time from a 2015 tweet. And then I've given you the link. The U.S. Executive Director on the board of the World Bank has violated the articles of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. That's another name for the World Bank. And is under censure by the rest of the members of the Bretton Woods institutions. Pope Francis and the Honorable Adolfo Nicholas, Superior General of the Society of Jesus, have also dishonored the demand of the Global Debt Facility that they refrain from further interference in the temporal matters under the sole purview of the Global Debt Facility. The World Court has no jurisdiction, despite its futile attempt to usurp the rights of Rodney Class and other human beings on this earth. The enslavement of humanity through the legal tender laws is over. Theft by usury from the fractional reserve fiat currencies is over. The central banks are insolvent. The debts of the members of the Bank for International Settlements under the Treaty of Versailles bonds held by the Global Debt Facility offset country debts. Local currencies issued by villages and municipalities and national currencies minted from gold in the Global Debt Facility are replacing the worthless fractional reserve currencies issued by those private banks before permanent gold backwardation. I tweeted how the World Bank and IMF Boards of Governors annual meeting approved by the Global Currency Reset, and I mailed that letter to the chair of the Development Committee and the country members on the Development Committee and the G77's representatives, that's actually 134 countries, on the Intergovernmental Group of 24 on International Monetary Affairs, and a link to the letter as it went out. This letter went to the chair of the Board of Governors, Indonesia. That was in 2017. Your Excellencies, and I don't know if I have time to read the letter, but it'll be in the teleprompter. Do you want me to read the outro now? Yes, okay. I've answered many of your questions about what's going on so that you can participate fully in the decisions that are going to need to be made as we replace corrupt paper money for our gold that has come out of hiding after many years. Amy wanted to know if things are good. Yes, Amy, things are good now that we're working together. We're going to be ending the corruption in our world, and we're just getting started.